From the very beginning, my stance was firm and resolute. When my sister brought up the idea of searching for our biological family, my heart weighed heavy with a mix of emotions that I didn't want to face. There was a lifetime built upon the foundations of the family we had chosen, and for me that was enough. Sitting in the living room, my sister looked at me expectantly. Her eyes shone with a hope I didn't share. "We should find them," she said, her voice laden with an urgency that seemed to spring from the depths of her soul. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "I don't want to," I replied, the simplicity of the words not reflecting the turmoil inside me. "I don't need them. I already have everything I need right here." I gestured around the room, to the portraits of our adoptive family, to the memories that adorned the walls. My sister frowned, confused and perhaps a little hurt. "But don't you want to know where we came from? Who we really are?" I looked at her, trying to find the right words. "I already know who I am," I said calmly. "I am who I was raised to be, by the parents who loved and cared for me. I don't need another story to validate my existence." There was an unwavering conviction in my voice, a truth she seemed unable to penetrate. I offered her my support in the best way I could. "If you want to find them, I respect that. And I'll be here for you on the outside supporting your decision. But I can't walk this path with you." For a moment she seemed to understand, and the silence between us was heavy with unspoken feelings. She knew it wasn't a decision made lightly. She respected my choice, even with silent pain. She embarked on her quest, and I remained steadfast in my resolution. In my heart, I knew my decision was right for me. It was an act of self-preservation, a way to protect the life I had built and the peace I cherished so much. As she embarked on her journey, I prepared to support whatever came, but never abandoning my position. The life I had was complete, without the gaps she wanted to fill. And so my decision remained firm as a rock, unshaken against the waves of others' expectations. 5 years ago, my sister made the decision that would change her life forever. It was a day of great anticipation and nervousness when she finally met our biological parents. I remember her preparing for the meeting as if it were a great adventure, the kind of journey you see in movies, full of excitement, hope, and a little fear. On the appointed day, she left home with a sparkle in her eyes that I hadn't seen in a long time. We said goodbye at the door, and I could feel the tension in the air. She was about to open a completely new chapter, something that for me remained a closed book. My sister had always been the most curious, the most determined to unravel the mysteries of our past. She returned from that meeting with a mix of emotions. The sparkle in her eyes was still there, but now there was also a weight, a new understanding that wasn't there before. She told us about meeting our biological parents, about the stories she heard, the tears that were shed, and the questions that were finally answered. Our adoptive parents, with their ever-generous hearts, unconditionally supported her. In a gesture of empathy and love, they decided to meet our biological parents too. They believed it was important for my sister to have that connection, and wanted to show that they supported her in all her decisions. It was a meeting full of emotions where two families met, not as strangers, but as parts of the same story. On the other hand, I watched everything from a distance, feeling like a spectator in an intense family drama. My choice not to meet our biological parents remained firm. I saw how deeply my sister was immersed in that new relationship. But for me, the connection with our biological parents was never something I sought or desired. She began to visit our biological parents regularly, creating memories and bonds that were essential to her. She told me stories about them, about their lives, their personalities, and about the love they felt for us all along. I listened attentively, but without the intention of getting involved. It was a time of great adjustment for all of us. My sister was finally completing a part of herself that she had always felt was missing. And even though I didn't share the same need, I deeply respected her journey. Our adoptive parents continued to be the pillar of support, showing that true love knows no bounds and that each person's choices deserve to be respected. During that time, our house was filled with new stories and old memories brought back to life. There was a sense of renewal in the air, but also a mutual respect for the different decisions we made. For my sister, finding our biological parents was like finding a missing piece of a puzzle. For me, my life was already complete, without the need to add additional pieces. And so our lives went on, each with its own path, but always united by the love and respect we had for each other. While my sister delved into the discovery of her roots, I became even more entrenched in the life I had chosen to build. Two different stories, but equally valid and respectable. My sister, since that first encounter with our biological parents, has been relentless in her attempts to connect me with them. For her, each meeting, each conversation, each exchange of glances was a vital piece of a puzzle that she desperately wanted me to help complete. But for me, the puzzle was already complete, even if it lacked some pieces for others. She began to pass me letters, always with a hopeful expression and a silent plea in her eyes. "Read, please. They want so much to meet you." I would take the letters, feeling the weight of expectations that weren't mine. Each envelope carried words that I never allowed to find their destination. They went straight to the drawer of my desk, untouched, and later silently to the trash. The letters arrived monthly, a new chance for them, a new burden for me. My sister always insisted, with a glimmer of hope mixed with sadness. "They are hurting, you know? Just like you have your reasons for not wanting contact, they have theirs for wanting." Sometimes she would tell me parts of the letters, in an attempt to stir up some feeling in me. "They talk about how much they regret it, about how they think of you every day. They were so young, scared. They weren't ready to be parents." I listened, and while the words echoed in my mind, the decision remained the same. The answers she thought I was seeking were already clear to me. My sister didn't understand that, for me, those letters and those words couldn't change the life I had. My reality was based on the choices my adoptive parents made in welcoming me, in unconditionally loving me. I had no need to revisit a past that, in my view, had already been closed. There were times when my sister's insistence hurt. Not because of her, but because of the pressure I felt. She couldn't understand my position, and it frustrated her deeply. "Why can't you at least try? Just once?" she would say, her voice choked with emotion. With each question, each letter, each new attempt, I responded with the same calm and firmness. "I don't want to, I don't need to. My life is complete like this. They made their choices and I made mine. There's nothing they can tell me that will change that." My sister, driven by deep love and a desire for unity, continued to try. I saw the pain in her eyes every time I rejected another letter, but I also knew that my peace and sanity depended on maintaining this barrier. It wasn't a decision made out of rebellion or resentment, but out of a clear understanding of where I belonged and who I was. So the letters continued to arrive, and I continued to discard them. And despite the pain it caused my sister, I knew I was being true to myself. The love and respect we had for each other remained, but on this issue we were in different worlds. And I was at peace with that. With my wedding day approaching, excitement grew at home. The flowers, the dress, the guest list, everything was falling into place perfectly. But at the same time, my sister intensified her efforts to have our biological parents invited. More and more, she seemed to believe that this special day would be the perfect opportunity to bring all the pieces of our history together. Sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by lists and invitations, she looked at me with determination. "They should be there. It's an important day, and they want so much to see you." I knew this discussion was far from the first, but with each attempt of hers, my response remained unchanged. "No," I said firmly. "This is my wedding. I only want the people who have been part of my life, who have supported and loved me from the start." Her frustration was palpable. She offered to cover all expenses, promising that they wouldn't cause any trouble. But the issue wasn't about money or logistics. It was about the essence of what that day meant to me. "It's not about the money. I simply don't want them there. They are strangers to me." The pain in her eyes was clear, but I had to be honest. Then came the call that broke her heart and tested my patience. On the other end of the line, my sister cried. "They are devastated," she sobbed. "They just want to be present. Our biological father wants to walk you down the aisle." I felt a tightness in my chest, but my decision didn't waver. "That was never a possibility," I replied coldly. "It's not a matter of forgiveness or resentment. Simply, they are not part of my life. And my father, the man who raised me, is the one who will walk me down the aisle." To ensure that my wedding day would be free from unwanted surprises, I warned her that the venue would have reinforced security. "We've already included extra security in the package. And I'll pass on all the information about our biological family, to make sure they don't enter. There was a heavy silence on the other end of the line before she murmured, "You're being irrational." My adoptive parents, always understanding, reaffirmed their unconditional support. "We're not asking this for us," they said. "We want you to do what's right for you." And I knew that, for me, keeping my distance was the right thing to do. My sister continued to insist that if our adoptive parents didn't care, I should want our whole family at the wedding. "They are our blood family," she said, almost pleading. "My real family will be there," I replied. "The people who have always stood by my side." The words didn't seem to comfort her, but they were the truth. The invitations were sent out, and our biological family didn't receive any. My sister's reaction was even more intense. Tears, arguments, silences heavy with disappointment. But, in the end, my wedding would be a reflection of the life I chose, not the circumstances that brought me here. It was a time to celebrate love, the family I chose, and the new journey about to begin. And so, with a firm heart and a clear mind, I continued to move forward, preparing for the most important day of my life, surrounded by those who truly mattered. The tension in the air was palpable, heavy with unspoken emotions, as I faced my sister's intense reaction to my final decision. She saw my refusal as irrational, a barrier between us that seemed increasingly difficult to overcome. My adoptive parents, as always, stood by my side, ensuring their unconditional support. Their words were a balm to my soul, reiterating that the decision was mine and that they would be there, regardless of what I chose. Their understanding and love were a beacon of light in the darkness of my doubts. My sister, however, seemed unwilling to accept my firmness. She continued to argue, trying to find a loophole in my position. "Our adoptive parents don't care," she insisted. "So why don't you want our biological parents there? They're also part of your history, your life." I took a deep breath, seeking calm in the midst of the storm of our emotions. "Because my real family will be there," I replied, the firmness in my voice reflecting the conviction within me. "The people who have always been by my side, who loved and raised me. To me, our biological parents are not my family." The truth resonated between us, a gap that seemed insurmountable. She saw blood as unbreakable bonds, while I saw love as the glue that kept my family together. It was a perspective hard to reconcile. When the invitations were sent out, and our biological parents didn't receive any, my sister's reaction was a storm of emotions. Tears, arguments, silences heavy with disappointment. But despite the intensity of her emotions, my decision remained unchanged. It was a moment to face the truth, to accept that no matter how much she wished, I couldn't change who I was or the choices I had made. And as the weight of our disagreement hung between us, there was also a silent understanding that, in the end, the love that bound us was stronger than any difference of opinion. So as we prepared for the big day, my sister and I carried with us our own truths, our own internal battles. But deep down we knew that, regardless of our differences, the bond between us would remain unshakable. It was the love that united us, no matter the circumstances, that sustained us through turbulent and uncertain times. And in the end, that was all that truly mattered. This story reveals the complexity of family bonds, and the importance of respecting individual choices and feelings. Even in the face of emotional pressures and others' expectations, it is essential to remain true to oneself and to one's own convictions.